match what you saw in your agenda if you had an opportunity to view that already. So we thought we would start with introductions because this might be the first time that you might be meeting us as staff or that we might be meeting you as community members. So if it's all right, we'll start here in the room first, and then we'll go to our committee members and staff who are online. So Brian, do you want to kick us off and we'll kind of go through that back row and then we'll come back here to Casey and go around? Does that sound okay?
Good.
Thanks, Brian.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brian Gall, Director of the Flagstaff Airport.
Hello, everybody. Daniel Kelly, Emergency Program Manager.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and stand. Stacy Breckman-Eggs. I'm the Emergency Management Director and Grants and Contracts oversee.
Good evening. I'm Sean Conley. I'm your police chief. Just thanks for being here on such an important conversation.
I'm Mark Taylor. I'm the fire chief, and also really appreciate everybody getting involved. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Rick Tanner, Management Service Director and City Trust. See you.
Mark Wilson, thank you all for being here. I'm a deputy fire chief. Casey Gonzalez. I several different hats. Work for the fire department, liaisoning with the dispatch center right now, and then I'm our union president for the local firefighters. 200 firefighters around.
My name is Scott Strohmeyer, and I am now a public. I just retired from the fire department last year. Been here my whole life and have a big interest in the community to make it good too.
My name is Bonnie Estes. I'm a supervisor with Terrace Mobile Crisis.
Hi, everybody. Mike Sifling, Flagstaff Unified School District, Assistant Director of Operations and Safety.
Good evening, Melanie Colavito. I'm the Deputy Director of the Ecological Restoration Institute at NAU.
Bonnie Boucher. I am the General Manager of Flagstaff Mall. Wear a lot of other hats in the community with the board for the chamber and a lot of volunteering. So you'll see me all over town.
Good evening, y'all. I'm John Van Landingham. I own the Old Town Shops building in downtown and have been working there for the last 34 years.
Hello, my name is Stacy Salzberg. I serve as the Communication and Civic Engagement Director. I also serve as the City Clerk. So I am here because I oversee elections as well as our public affairs section, so helping with some outreach as needed.
Jessica Matias, Chief of Staff to Mayor Daggett.
I'm Shannon Anderson. I'm your Senior Deputy City Manager, and I'm also the facilitator for this process. So thank you for communicating with me and allowing me to reach out to all of you. Really appreciate the responsiveness, and I'm looking forward to working with you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kurt Stahl. I'm the Executive Director of Facilities and Security at Coconino Community.
Good evening. I'm BJ Dempsey. I have a background in business and leadership and currently work for the railroad.
So we'll go ahead and move online. I'm just going to go as it shows up. Alita, do you want to go first?
Good evening, everyone. My name's Elida, and I'm a former social worker working on a career change in my own business and volunteering with quite a few groups as I do.
Thank you. Gail, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Gail Jackson. I'm the president and CEO of Econa. We do regional economic development, and I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Gracie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gracie Martinez. I work for ASNAU, which is Associated Students of Northern Arizona University, which is the undergraduate student government. I work as their Vice President of Civic Affairs. I'm really excited to be here today, and thank you, Shannon, for facilitating this.
Thanks, Gracie. Heidi.
Hi, everybody. Heidi Hansen. I'm the Economic Vitality Director for the City of Flagstaff, and the airport is one of the sections in the division that I get to direct. Thank you.
Jessica?
Hello, my name is Jessica Vigorito, and I am the Fire Administration Manager for Flagstaff Fire Department.
And Matt?
Hello, my name is Matt Smyers, Captain Paramedic with the Flagstaff Fire Department, acting Battalion Chief today.
Thanks, Matt, for being here. Hi, Mike.
Good afternoon, Mike Levin, founder of Levin Contracting. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be with you all and further the interest of Flagstaff, my longtime community. So thank you.
Noelle.
Hi, I'm Noelle Van Rossum. I'm the administrative specialist for the Flagstaff Fire Department.
Ross.
Good evening, everyone. This is Ross Schaefer. I'm the executive director with Flagstaff Shelter Services.
Thank you, Ross. Roxana.
Hello there, my name is Roxana Cardiel, organizer for Northern Arizona Interfaith Council.
Hi, Tad.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tad Reagan, a longtime resident of Flagstaff for over 30 years and current principal at Coquina High School.
Thanks for being here. Safe travels. Tim.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Tim Skinner. I'm the ARF Battalion Chief and also the Airport Operations Manager at the airport.
Vince.
Hello, my name is Vince Martinez. I'm the director at Guardian Medical Transport and Pre-Hospital Care at Flagstaff Medical Center, Northern Arizona Healthcare.
Thanks, Vince. And I noticed Brandy just hopped on. Brandy, did you want to introduce yourself to the group?
Absolutely. Brandy Suda, the city's finance director. Thank you.
Right. Are you recording already?
I already recorded.
Thank you. My mind. So the next thing that we want to talk about is our timeline. So thanks for going through introductions. So we wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of what this work looks like. Obviously, we're starting in November, but there's quite a bit of time between now and when we take this back to council in June. And so we wanted to talk about the committee meetings. We have put together a schedule, and you'll see that here in a couple of slides where we're doing presentations from each of the areas that are represented in our public safety work that we do as a municipal government. We'll work to put together a community survey, so you will have community input that you can consider. And then in February is when you'll be able to take all that information, seek any clarifying information from staff, ask any questions you might have that has come to you as you're processing all this information. You'll have the community information and can start to talk as a group as to what you think is most important that we consider if we move forward with a ballot measure. All of that in an effort to keep council updated as we're going along, but to make a recommendation that will go back to council. Typically, this committee is done doing that in the main time frame so we can get it ready to go before council in June. So that then if they're supportive of the idea, we have the opportunity to have council call the election in mid-June so that we can be on the ballot in November of 2026. So it seems like a really long process, but there's a lot of work that happens between today and then to make that happen. And so I really appreciate the fact that you are all willing to come and join us and learn about the great work that these teams do. So one of the things that we thought we could start with is a meeting schedule. I've scheduled these first two meetings on Wednesday because I could find a room available and it seemed like most could accept a meeting date of today, and then we'll meet again next Wednesday, the 19th. But the question moving forward is I currently have sites identified for a Wednesday meeting or a Thursday meeting. I will tell you the Thursday location, the Rio de Flag reclamation plant, it is a reclamation plant, so it has pumps and other equipment running 24/7. So if you are attending virtually, it's a little bit harder to hear. So it's a little less conducive to Microsoft Teams than this facility as well. So I thought it was important that you do that as you consider what day of the week works. We tend to stick to the middle of the week because Tuesdays we're with council, and people sometimes travel on Mondays and Fridays for a long weekend. So thought we could stop here and get a sense of, as a committee, what you think, which days of the week would work better for you.
So I do have a question.
Yes.
These will be weekly.
For now,
For now,
so that
okay.
we can make sure that you have all the information by the first part of the year.
Okay.
And we'll take holiday weeks off, so there would be no meeting the week of Thanksgiving, Christmas, or New Year's.
I'm just getting ready for the busy season. So I was trying to go, okay, let's see what that really looks like. Is the 5 to 7 something that is just conducive for everyone, or is it possible to do it during the work hours, like 3 to 5?
This was just a starting point. It's our next talking is to say, all right, which day of the week, which time during that day. So it's really up to when most folks are going to be available.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have an idea you want
I
to
would,
throw
I
out?
mean, Wednesdays and Thursdays are fine. I would rather see something a little earlier. The 3 to 5, I can fit that in and, but I know a lot of people work and I don't know if that's possible, but the later evening, there seems to be more going on for me, especially as the holidays come in, so.
Got it. Mike, I think I saw your hand up.
Yes, I would second that motion. The days of the weeks are perfect, but a little earlier in the day, because I'm kind of past my prime now, so.
Never mind.
This is Ross Schaefer. I would just ask that whatever, just because of the week to week cadence, wherever we go, my preference would be that there be a virtual option like tonight. So if there is a location space that is better for that, that would be my preference.
Can I also throw one more thing out there? All right. We do have a meeting space at the mall that we have just created in one of our vacant spaces, the old Wells Fargo space. And we have turned it into a meeting room, so I would be open to say that could be available if we needed that during the week. I have classes scheduled for the weekend for those traffic offenders, so we have traffic school on the weekends there, but during the week it's open. So if we wanted to look at that, I'd be open to that.
Is that space set up to attach Microsoft Teams for sound and speaker?
I would have to check if we have that set up yet. That's something we were looking at.
Okay.
So.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good with an earlier time as well. My preference would probably be not before 3, just because my schedule tends to be more chaotic at that time of day and unpredictable. And so preference would be that later afternoon, 3 to 5 or 4 to 6.
Echo that, earlier is better, 3 to 5 or 4 to 6.
Good for you, Bonnie.
I would definitely agree. I would also, I think this is a great space, actually. So plus, we're just down here on Woodlands. That might play into it.
You too. All right, so what if we did Wednesdays from 3 to 5 p.m.? So that way we could have the virtual option. The folks can participate easily with the setup, and it's like it's an okay location for everyone who travels in person. Okay. Is there anyone that does not work for? Okay. Do you want me to change the meeting next week, or do you want to pick up this schedule with December 2nd's meeting?
Good for next week. We change it to now.
give folks, I see some folks looking at calendars, so.
I already go, okay, include that.
Yeah. I guess,
And with the change next week.
okay,
Just a question about attendance expectations might help me answer. So yeah, what are the ideal expectations for a frequency of attendance? I think every week, but
we'll be covering a new topic every week. We will record the meeting with Teams and send out that link so you can look at it if you weren't able to attend. You have an opportunity to access me for any questions that you might have, after you've watched that video, if you have questions. The goal in doing that is so we can get through all the information in time for you to have plenty of discussion together. So if you can't make it, that's okay. We'll continue to move forward with that topic, but we'll provide you any materials that way you can stay caught up. I realize people might not be here every week. Does that help answer your question? Thank you. Okay.
Shannon, you had mentioned, or we had discussed 3 to 5 or 4 to 6. Is there any way to split the difference, 3:30 to 5:30? I mean, not trying to be difficult, just asking.
I'm open. I don't see any no's in the room. Is there anyone online that would be opposed to 3:30 to 5:30? This is probably the hardest part of the meeting. It's getting everyone's scheduled coordinator. Okay, that would work better for, okay. So we'll meet Wednesdays from 3:30 to 5:30, and we'll start next week on November 19th. Rick, does that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Because he's going to be our presenter next week, so we want to make sure he can. Yeah, you're good? Okay, thanks. Anything else on this topic of meeting day?
There's
or
one
time
person on the
or
board that
location?
says next week, 3 to 5 wouldn't work, but I can't see who it is. Would it work the rest of the time?
Yeah, it said it usually
It
works.
usually works.
Oh, usually works. Okay. I just thought didn't work. So I just didn't want to.
If we have a commitment until 5:30, is it okay to oh, yeah, that would be fine. I think we're gonna move the time to 3:30, so our time will be 3:30 to 5:30. Hopefully, if you have a conflict till 3:30, that will work for you. Thanks, Mike. Okay. Well, then we'll move on to our next topic. Sorry, I'm forgetting to move this screen. I apologize. Staff presentations. This gives you an idea of the schedule. We'll be keeping, you'll see once I got to that first part of December, I just started showing weeks because I wasn't sure what day of the week we were going to be meeting. So these will change to those Wednesday dates. We'll start with the financial outlook. Staff, we thought this gives all of the committee members a good foundation to understand the city's financial health, how we budget, and what our current financial numbers look like. Then we will move on after we've done financial outlook for 2 meetings to our Flagstaff Fire Department. They will present 2 weeks in December. Then we will move on that first part of January with emergency management. And because they're a smaller group, we've figured that they could cover that in 1 meeting. Since that's a little bit more of an extended meeting time with the 2 hours. We will follow emergency management. I'm sorry, I thought that I switched this to aircraft. It's aircraft rescue and firefighting. Sorry, Brian, I missed one. And then we will end our presentations with the police department. The reason we're having them go last is they're currently in a staffing study. We want to try and get as much of that completed before we bring their information to you. So that way it will help inform the discussion. And then following that last part of January, we'll move on to February where we'll have our community survey results. That can be shared with all the committee members. So you have an idea of what we're hearing from Flagstaff. And then the last piece that we wanted to talk about in relation to our schedule is, as staff, we were wondering if it would be helpful for you as committee members to see some of these operations. So would it be helpful to have some tours of fire operations, police operations, emergency treatment? If you think that that would be helpful, we certainly can put together some packages and come back with what that could look like and then discuss dates. If that's something you feel like you're pretty well versed in, then we wouldn't necessarily need to plan that. It's really up to you as a committee and if you think that would be helpful. I see a thumbs up from Mike, thanks.
I would agree with Mike, I think it's helpful, even though I'm familiar with quite a few of the facilities. I think it's helpful just to refresh and get your mind going on what we're actually looking at. At the airport, there's a lot of backside scenes that people don't see very often, as well as police and fire. So I would highly recommend that we do that.
I guess if there's enough interest, we can go ahead and plan it. And certainly if you can't go, that's okay. We realize people can't make it to absolutely everything. But we didn't want to plan some additional things for you if it was going to be too much to ask either. So that's why we wanted to ask the question today. Sound okay? I'm seeing some head nods in the room. Okay. Then we will work on planning that tour. We'll come back to you with some potential dates and we can discuss what will work best for everyone. Great. Anything that you want to ask about our schedule? Anything that's standing out to you? Open then. All right. So one of the things that we do as an organization when we're meeting with a larger committee made up of our community members is we try to create a charter because it outlines what our role is going to be, what we're working on together, and what that outcome is expected and how we get there. So a couple of key points that I wanted to highlight out of the charter is this committee. The reason that I was reaching out to you is because our committees are typically appointed by the city manager's office. And so even though I know you were talking to many of our excellent staff members, that's why I kind of followed up with that additional communication. So I appreciate you allowing us to have a little bit of that duplication. This appointment would last for a year. Right now our schedule goes through June, so that's really kind of the end of our time together. Certainly, we love it if you can share with others what you've learned here, but that's really up to you, what you feel comfortable in sharing or not. We do ask for a committee of this style that you vote on a chair and a vice chair, so we'll get to that in our next process here. The goal in doing that is you have someone that then can call meetings to order, help with the voting protocols, adjourn the meeting. So it just allows for a little bit more organization as we're meeting together. Allows me to really focus on any type of facilitation that's needed, bringing folks together, summarizing maybe what we've heard in thoughts if we're having trouble getting to an outcome. Again, we'll be tasked with advising council on a potential ballot measure for November of 26, so this next November. And it would include, at this point, fire, police, the aircraft rescue and firefighting, which we call ARF for short, and emergency management. We do have quorum set at 7 members. That might look low, but in our experience, even when we have a committee that's as large as 25 to 30 individuals, people can't come to every meeting. And so having 7 usually is about half of what you're seeing in each of those times together. And then again, on that final recommendation, instead of putting a number to it, we say you just have to have a simple majority to accept that recommendation. So let's say on May 15th, you all are getting together and you're finalizing your ideas of what you want to take back to council. the vote that would happen during that meeting would be based on just a simple majority of who's there that day. So that's when it starts to get really important, that if you have important things that you want to share or thoughts that you want to get across to the other members, those are the meetings that you'll want to make sure that you can carve out some time. Hopefully it'll be after your busy season. And then the last piece, the recommendation, we do ask that it is detailed, but we also ask that you prioritize it. So that way council gets a good idea of what's most important to you. So that way, if there are things that, let's say we come forward with a package for $10 million and they want to see something for $8 million, that way they can work from the bottom up because they know the things that are at the top are the most important to you. Any questions on that particular charter? Okay, I'm not seeing anything, so let's talk a little bit about a chair and a vice chair.
I'm sorry, I do have a question.
Oh, please go ahead, Roxana.
If we're not able to attend in person for the formal votes, can we vote any other way?
If you're not able to attend in person,
Or online, yes, couldn't attend, period.
would your vote count? Is that what you were asking?
Yes, is there another way to vote?
If the team, let's say this team decided to put together the package during one meeting and to come back and accept final votes at the next, I think you could certainly submit your vote in writing to the chair, vice chair, and myself, and they could read that on your behalf at that next meeting. I think that's a way that that could happen outside of meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Does that create concerns for anyone? Okay. Okay. Just thinking off the cuff, but that's a way that we could handle that. All right. So talking a little bit about our chair and vice chair. Again, they help open the meeting, so they'll call the meeting to order. Oh, Mike, go ahead, please. Mike, if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
As long as we're in conformance with the Arizona open meeting law, I wouldn't disagree.
This committee does not have to comply with open meeting laws.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, you're welcome. If you saw, I looked over at my clerk when I said that. I knew she would get me back in order if I had that wrong in my mind. It's good to have a room of experts. So our chair and vice chair, in addition to opening the meeting, they would establish quorum. So we would make sure that we have at least our 7 to be able to have a meeting. They would also adjourn the meeting. They would also work to help make sure that if there's someone who's a little bit more quiet and someone who's tending to dominate the conversation, to try and make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak and be heard. They would recognize speakers. And so again, if we're raising hands or however you decide to work together, they could say, yes, please go ahead. Melanie, share what you have to say, and then could call on Bonnie and then Kurt, they could help keep that order. They also would restate the motion after a motion is seconded. So everyone knows what they're about to vote on before they ask for the supporting votes, and then any of those that might be opposed. Again, they would also attend and speak to council during presentations. We as staff try really hard to do majority of that, but oftentimes council will say they might have a question for the committee. And so having the chair and or the vice chair there to speak on behalf of the committee is helpful because then they're hearing directly from you versus it going through us. So that's a little bit about the chair and vice chair. One of the things that we can choose to do today, or if you want to think about it and we come back at the next meeting, that's okay too. But we would like to try and identify which committee members might be interested in serving as chair or vice chair, and then determine how you'd like to vote on that. If you're willing just to say, yeah, you know, if Scott says, hey, I wanna be vice chair, you could all decide today, yep, we're good with that, Scott. Or you could think about it and we could come back the next meeting and you could provide your recommendations at that point. I know this is the first time some of you have met. And so wanted to make sure that you're feeling comfortable with who would be serving in these two roles. I'll stop talking and open it to the floor, see what you think. It might be good, you know, if anyone's ever served in this role and you kind of know how it works, it might be good to have those individuals serve in that role as well. Melanie?
Just as a point of clarification, the city staff are not considered part of the committee or are part of the committee?
Not part of the committee.
Part of the committee. So how will the chair and vice chair work with you as the city staff facilitator?
I will be at your meetings. I will help provide notes, those kinds of things. I'll be kind of a conduit, but I wouldn't be voting. I could help provide clarification, or if folks had questions, reach out to the right staff member. So I kind of am as a liaison in addition to helping facilitate the meetings. And you'll see a lot of staff at every meeting because we're here to make sure that you have the information that you need to be successful too. Things are kind of quiet. Do we want to maybe think about this and come back to it? It can be our first item.
I can also add that I'm on the pedestrian advisory committee and I'm not the chair, but it's a pretty straightforward thing to do. Having observed someone else do it well. Not having done it myself.
And I certainly can help too.
Somebody up there on the online, go ahead and raise your hand. Mike, where are you guys at?
All right, so how about, so we don't stall and we can hopefully not keep you any longer than we need to. When I send you your next communication, I'll send you this information about the chair and the vice chair in that email, so you can get a good sense of kind of what the role looks like. If you have questions about it, please feel free to reach out to me. We can talk over the phone or we can email back and forth, whatever works best for you. And we'll add this as our first agenda item during the next meeting. That way folks can get a little bit more comfortable with the concept and think about if it's something that you might be willing to do. Sound good? All right. Okay. So this last slide here is this kind of what to expect. We will certainly, I will be sending out appointments with the date and times that we talked about today. I will try to send you email reminders with, what's the next upcoming agenda, what's the presentation if we're going to have one. I'll send you the link to where the recordings are in case you want to rewatch something or maybe you couldn't attend a meeting. The one thing that I've heard a little bit about today, which is something new for our SharePoint, at least in my experience, is the authenticator. It's gotten a few folks stuck. So I've worked with IT today and they said they can change it to where it's an email authenticator. And so what that means is that you would get a code into your email that you then would have to enter that code into the SharePoint and then you're set to go from there. I wanted to ask if we think that's a good workaround, or do you need me just to send you attachments? My concern with sending attachments is sometimes presentations and recordings can be so large that I won't be able to see them. So that's why I'm a little hesitant on the attachments, but I want to be sure that it works for you because this is really your site to be able to see information.
The email authenticator, I think, would be great.
It'd be easier.
It'd be easier. It was a little difficult. I mean, there was a few workarounds because I have firewalls in my email system too.
Okay.
That would help. And so if there was an authenticator, I think that would
The email
make it
one.
a lot easier.
Okay.
Gail, you're up.
Oh, hi, Gail.
Hi, so could we just have a Google Drive that you just send a link and then it just automatically goes, or are we stuck with Microsoft Teams? Because I struggled with getting on as well with the authenticator and creating a password, and I was just curious if maybe that might be an easier fix.
It's not something that we use regularly at the city, but I'd be happy to ask IT if that works for everyone. If a Google Drive is easier.
Whatever's gonna work.
Okay.
Safe to assume this is all public information.
Yes.
It would just be posted on a page on the city's website somewhere. Touch the website, you could see and or download the things.
What do you think? We'd have to create a page.
Yeah. Something we can talk about.
That's an idea.
Yeah, let me
The website's
Take it
just
easy.
not usually the best tool for that sort of thing, but we can talk, yeah, we can talk through it. See what might be better.
Joanne was telling me about another site today. I wrote it down because I knew I would forget. I think it was called Stack or Slack. Has anybody ever used that? No? Okay.
Yes, I've used it.
Okay. All right, so we'll kick around kind of some ideas on the staff side and I will communicate again with you. I will continue to send you attachments best I can until we get you a good tool that you can easily use. Sound fair? Okay. Again, that site will put agenda, meeting highlights, the recordings, presentations. If during a presentation, we suggest that there's a more detailed report, we'll stick that out there. So that way you'll have access to it in case you want to do a deeper dive. Those are all the things that we thought of as staff that might be helpful for you, but I wanted to say, you know, is there anything else that might make this process a little bit easier for you? Or is there something that you're thinking about that maybe we haven't touched on? I'm not seeing anything right now, but if you think of something, please let me know. We want to try and make this as an informative, maybe a little fun along the way. Last slide here is just any questions that you might have. Is there something that's been on your mind that we didn't touch on today? And if we don't have the answer for you right now, it's certainly something we can bring back to the next meeting. And also just to make sure that you kind of feel like you know a little bit more about what's going to happen next.
As a committee member, are we trying to relay the information we have or the information we're gonna get from the public to give to the council? Like, I guess when we formulate the questions, if this committee formulates the questions to get public input, how is that weigh into the committee's recommendation?
So you will deliberate amongst each other based on the information that you receive, because you'll have a lot more details that you'll hear on this committee than maybe somebody might know that's not participating. The community survey results is a way for you to consider other community members that maybe you aren't in touch with or who haven't asked you about it or it hasn't been a point of discussion. Certainly not a responsibility, but I won't say that people might not ask you, because I think people tend to find out like who's on the committee and they might ask you, what did you hear about this? Or what do you think about this? And then they might have a response for you. The goal of this committee is really to take what you know, what you hear from those in your surrounding areas, as well as that survey feedback into mind as you're creating then your recommendation that you'd like council to consider. Because when it comes to ballot measures, it's really about what's palatable, right? What is something that the community can support? What's most important to them? Those are going to be some of the questions that we'll want to answer. Help, Scott?
It does, thank you.
Gail, go ahead.
All right, I think you kind of answered the question. I was wondering really what is our goal here? It sounds like we're going to get a lot of staff presentations, which is great. Are we going to be coming up with community survey questions, or is that something the staff does? It sounds like we're more ambassadors than we are, like, I guess I'm just trying to clarify, like, what is our actual role in moving this forward till June and all of these meetings? Can you touch on that a little bit more?
Yeah, I think
Thanks.
it's learning more details about each of the 4 areas that we've identified.
Okay.
It's asking questions for something that might come across confusing, or trying to understand why it's necessary, because some of the areas can be a little bit more technical. I think as far as the community survey, we actually are meeting with different election consultants right now to see what kind of surveys they provide. So we'll be working with an expert on that survey to make sure it's something that's not biased, to make sure that it gets good feedback. That's not only valuable for you as a committee, but if something moves forward, it also becomes helpful in our outreach, because then we know where there might be questions, what's most important. Is there a favor for some language over a different type of language? It just provides a lot of insight for many different purposes. That survey can be a valuable tool for many reasons. If I had to pick what's that one goal, it's taking in all the information, asking the best questions that you can, so that at the end of the day, you can formulate that recommendation to council. So everything we do after today on is working towards what's that recommendation? What does it look like? What does it include? And although that might sound really simple right now, I think as I've worked with these committees, what I've learned is as you get all the details, it gets harder because there's just a lot of information. And so although it seems like a long period of time, I find that we use it in order to get to that final point.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Mike.
As I understand this correctly, working towards the betterment of Flagstaff and the community through basic public services, and that will require a little time and effort, but will be well worth it in the end.
Thanks, Mike.
Shannon, this is Ross Schaefer. I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Are you guys getting a lot of echo from me? That wasn't the question, just making sure. Okay, so my question is, and I appreciated Gail's question because I think it helps kind of tee up and frame what our kind of overarching goal here is. My question is, one, I spent a lot of time on the Housing Commission, and it was pretty clear and upfront that, as the Housing Commission formed, that there sort of was this larger goal of moving a mission forward to be able to accomplish the goal of housing, right? So I guess I'm just wondering, is this an established hope that we're trying to accomplish something specific? And the second piece is based on, really the title of the committee. I'm wondering how we're incorporating presentation and information around public services from, maybe a nonprofit perspective, like for instance, Flagstaff Shelter Services, and how other partners are kind of keyed into this conversation. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. I think that the information that we're presenting is about the needs of these 4 areas. And so the only thing that's known at this point in time is that we have a gap in resources. We have these 4 areas that make up our public safety services for our organization. And we have various tools in our toolbox that we can use to help us fund those needs, but because they are more significant in nature, it's why we tend to involve a committee such as this to help us know what's most important. And the reason that we're sharing so much information is because we want you as a committee to be able to hear from those that are delivering these services, what they do, how they do it, and what their needs are. So that you as a community member can determine from your point, from those that you might speak around you, what's most important. So I think, Ross, one of your key roles is you are one of our social service providers. And so being able to bring that perspective to this committee and those discussions, I think will be key. So are you still there?
Yes, sorry, it got quiet for a second.
That's okay. Did that answer your question or did that spark any new ones?
No, I mean, certainly it sparks new ones, but I think that helped answer my question. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I have another question. I'm sorry.
Okay.
After 6. But I'm just curious. So this is all above and beyond normal budget stuff. Like we're not talking about, can we fund, can we just give all the money to public safety? That's not an option. This is stuff that's beyond what the annual budget can handle. Am I understanding that correctly? And that's why we need a bond because the normal budget won't handle it. Is that why?
Why it's a ballot measure. Bond is only one of those tools. And we'll talk more about bonds, but bonds are one-time dollars. And as you'll hear from these teams, there are some ongoing expenses that we're unable to fund in our general fund. And it's really why we're starting with that financial outlook first, because it's super important to understand the city's budget and its finances before we start talking about the needs, because then it makes a little bit more sense. And Gail, you might be more familiar with some of these things because I know you worked for our organization for some time. But for others who might not have had that hands-on experience, it's more helpful.
I get it. I just wasn't sure if we were going to get an overall budget presentation, if we were going to have some, or if it's already been determined that these are needs that are beyond what the current budget can handle, and this is one tool that we can use. So I will stop with the questions and I'm sure we'll get there. So thank you for allowing me more time.
Yeah, I think you hit on it. There are needs beyond what we have, and we're going to talk about the different tools that you can use. What some of them are good for, what some are not good for, because we have we have a handful of things. Maybe not lots is the good, but we have a handful of things that we can choose from. Sometimes they're more palatable than others. Melanie.
Are there any other similar committees working simultaneously that might be proposing other types of ballot initiatives, financially related ballot initiatives?
There's been a conversation about an arts and cultural facilities bond measure. There are still other alternatives on the table. Council will have that conversation in December. But my understanding is there won't be a committee because we kind of already have groups that work in that arts and cultural area. So they might just tap into those groups that already exist.
But there would be, thank you, that answers my question. I guess this follow-up, there is the potential for other ballot measures to be run through the council process ahead of November of next year.
That is the only other one.
That is the only other one.
And it's still unknown at this point. But I certainly will keep you informed as I know more. Because that's certainly important as we get to an election to know what's going to be on the ballot. Any other questions or even comments? Mike, go ahead. Mike, can you hear me?
Shannon, thank you for facilitating the commentary and this great meeting and everyone for their time.
Thank you.
Shannon.
Yes, Chief. Oh, yes, Rick, go ahead.
Just a question regarding the overall impact of any kind of ballot measure, whether it's a bond or whether it's sales tax, whatever it is, how that impacts our community in terms of the term that's being kicked around nationally a lot today, which is the word affordability. And since we live in one of the least affordable cities in the state of Arizona, how will this play into that discussion?
We're going to talk about how we compare to some other communities to help give some of that perspective. And that's from a sales tax base. So you'll see like how our sales tax and all of our additional percentages add up compared to others. And that is really one of the key things in that community survey is we start to understand what's that impact to folks. Because it's really what it comes down to is how it impacts you might be different than how it impacts Jess. And so getting as many people's input through this process really helps us to start to understand that. I don't know that I have an answer for you, but we.
And I don't, and I could have an answer to that question because it's so complex, but I want to make sure that when we do the survey, that we're reaching and getting responses back from a broader segment of the community, because we don't always hear from certain areas, certain demographics within the community. It's difficult, it's difficult, for example, to get renters to respond to surveys and participate in the whole process. So I want to make sure that when we do any kind of survey, that we're doing everything that we can to reach out to as many segments of the community so we get a real general feeling of how the community as a whole thinks about this.
Yeah, definitely. We work to do that. I will tell you, those surveys tend to focus on people who vote. Because again, it gives us insight as to what a ballot might look like. But I also want to say in response to that, that these meetings are public. And so if there's folks that you feel might want to talk and share their voice, feel comfortable in inviting them to those meetings to be able to share that with you. They sometimes don't come to when we're just presenting, but once we're done with that, if you want to invite folks to come, because maybe they're sharing something with you and you think that's valuable for this team to hear, you can say it yourself or you can invite them to come and share with the committee as well. Because we have the opportunity to set up that public participation for you to be able to do that. Just another way to include folks.
I can also say that the more people know that you're involved in the programs that we're in, the more they're apt to reach out to you. And they're letting their voice be heard through you. It does happen naturally. So, often people think, oh, nobody's going to know who's on it or what's going on. And before you know it, you'll have people saying, oh, you're on that committee. And then they'll, want to talk to you about it, and bringing their voice to the meetings is something that will happen pretty naturally. And I mean, I can say that it's happened to me just, in general, when I'm involved in something, people will go, Bonnie, talk to me about this. So the more you let the information out, the more information you will get. So it's kind of one of those things, what you share, you give a loaf, loaf of bread, take a slice, and before you know it, you have the whole loaf. So.
Thanks for that, Bonnie.
Do you have an idea what other initiatives might be on the ballot outside of the city? Because that may play a role in.
We had a meeting with the county today. They're thinking about something related to facilities, but they're not sure that it'll be ready to go 26. Is there something from Mountain Line as well? No? Okay.
Heard it. That was 2024. No.
Okay. Great. So nothing that I know of right now, but we tend, so we have a group called the Alliance that has FUSD, Mountain Line, NAU, CCC, the city, the county, we come together on a quarterly basis. We actually have a meeting on Friday and we try to talk about those initiatives. So that way we kind of get a sense of what could be on that ballot. Because we can pay attention to how many things are there and also kind of the order that it's going to go in as well. Well, I don't see anything else. So again, thank you for being here. I appreciate your participation. Please reach out if you have any questions. For our next meeting, we'll start with our chair and vice chair, and then we'll start to move into our financial outlook. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, Shannon.
Have a